Today is June 15th, 2025, and welcome to the 442nd episode of the Videogames podcast. Here on the show, I talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. My name is Brad Galloway. I'm the one-man host of the show, and I'm also the editor of GameCritics.com, a website that uses the full range of review scores from 0 to 10, while also offering full accessibility info on every review that we publish. Hello, thank you for joining me today. Kind of in a weird mood. It's been a eventful weekend, a busy weekend, and then today was kind of a little bit of a slower pace, and I'm kind of just enjoying the afternoon. Went on a long walk with the wife, and it was just like the perfect day outside, you know, like it was sunny but not too warm. There was a breeze, but it wasn't too cold, it wasn't too gusty, it wasn't raining, weren't too many people out. It was just the wife and I and our dog, one of our dogs, just kind of kicking it, you know. We weren't really going anywhere with a purpose, weren't really on a mission, just kind of just being out there enjoying the nice afternoon. And it kind of got me thinking, you know, life could really be like that for a lot of people. You know, we are on this planet that is like giving us life and provides us food and is a great place to be, and it's perfectly designed for us to be here. And we could enjoy that, except we keep ruining it, like capitalism and profit and products and pollution and all the P words. And it just, you know, it's like one of those afternoons that really just kind of hits you and it makes you think, you know, we could do something better. We could make this better. We could enjoy this. Like, there's enough food for everybody. There's enough power for everybody. There's enough housing for everybody. It doesn't have to be hell on earth. It doesn't have to be this misery that we're making it. So hopefully things will change. We just got done with the No Kings protest march in America. And if you're not in America, I mean, I'm sure you must know, you know, all the mess that's going on with Donald Trump, the Republicans, and him trying to become a fascist dictator here in the States. So this was, I believe, the largest protest in American history, you know, millions of people pouring out in the streets and being seen and showing support that we are not a fascist country. We are not a racist, hateful country. We want to do better. We want to be better. And Donald Trump is kind of like the end all be all when it comes to the most rotten humans to basically ever live. I would put him in that bucket. So I'm proud that people went out and protested. Lots of my friends personally went out and protested. I didn't protest for various reasons, but lots of people that I know and support did. So I want to give a big shout out to them and say thank you for going out there and showing solidarity. Hopefully we can get this thing turned around. I feel like it's ridiculous it's come this far. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on, and I hope that America will just, you know, pull up its pants, take a deep breath, and do what needs to be done here. We gotta take this country back. All right, folks, enough philosophy, enough soapbox. Yeah, it's that kind of day. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. What are we doing? We're kicking off with housekeeping is what we're doing. Tidbits, news items, green olives, whatever else is game adjacent that's caught my eye in the last 7 days. Only one thing today, and that is we have a new YouTube channel for GameCritics.com. Now, this may seem weird to folks, but we've been in the game of video reviews and publishing stories and being online like more than 20 years. If I'm thinking back, it's probably coming up on 26 years, if I'm not mistaken. 26 years online doing video game reviews. That's a long time. That's a significant portion of my lifespan. And in all that time, we have not really ever done a YouTube push ever, for a number of reasons. I mean, I think many of us who were kind of the original crew of the website, I was the fourth person to join the website after it was created. And since then, I mean, I think we're probably like at 25 or something like that now. But the original crew, we were not really YouTubers. I think we were like a generation behind when it became super popular. I mean, we watch YouTube and we know what it is, but I don't think we were raised as like the people who just like made videos and were content creators in that way. We were mostly like writers, and we were interested in film and discussion and critique and stuff like that. And that's largely true, but I think it just kind of shows that in all those years, 20, 25, 26 years, we just haven't really pivoted to video. And then honestly, when the big pivot to video happened, you know, when Facebook kind of falsified all their data and basically killed the online journalism industry or field, I guess, if you want to call it that, because I don't know if you know this or you remember this or you recall this, but before, when reviews were so big, Facebook was like, oh, actually, no, everything's pivoting to video. People don't read anymore. They only watch videos, and here's our stats to prove it. And they actually falsified a bunch of numbers to make it seem like more people were watching videos than were. And so that false information put out by one of the largest social media platforms in the world basically encouraged every online journalism house to say, you know what, fuck this. We're not doing journalism. We're doing videos. And so tons of people got laid off, and tons of people were just in a bad position, and everything switched to video. And it just wasn't true. It just flat out wasn't true. I mean, videos are videos, and videos are great. I'm not against videos, but written word has a place. You know, sometimes you want to just read something real quick. I can read something a hell of a lot faster than I can watch a video. If you need an FAQ, if you want a strategy, if you just want some information really quickly, like, reading is the most efficient way to do it, especially because you can, search an article. You can't really search a video like that. So when that happened, we just kind of doubled down and we're like, no, we're not pivoting to video. We're going to stick with what we're doing. And so we had even less reason to do video at that point. And it just kind of went on that way for a long time. I don't say this as an excuse. I'm just kind of like letting you know why we haven't been doing video. But over the years, we picked up a couple more folks added to the crew, most notably Eugene Sachs, who is a great contributor, longtime member of the site, one of our pillars here at GameCritics.com. Hell of a guy. Great guy. And he is a video guy. And so he's been doing video reviews for a while. And I thought that was fine. We've been running his reviews at GameCritics.com. But I'm like, we should just like consolidate all these and throw them up on YouTube just in case anybody wants to find them that way. And, so we did. We got a new channel up. It is called GameCritics.com Videos. And so it's going to be reviews from Eugene. I believe we have some reviews from a couple other video creators that we have here at the site. I believe Ali Arkhani is going to be contributing some stuff. A couple other people, perhaps. And in addition to the video reviews that we do, we're going to just be throwing up a bunch of trailers that we think are interesting. So just full disclosure for me, I'm not really a video guy. I don't want to do that. I've got a lot going on, and that's just not my wheelhouse. So I'm not going to be putting a lot of my personal time into doing videos or making videos, but Eugene is going to be leading the charge on that. And he's doing a great job so far. Absolutely bang up job. And we'll just see how it goes. So it's not going to be our main focus. We're not going to like shift everything to YouTube, and we're not like trying to make revenue from it or anything. But I figured, oh, fuck, it's been like 25, 26 years. We probably should have a YouTube channel that makes sense, and we'll just see what happens. So if you want to follow it, subscribe, that would be great. It's GameCritics.com Videos, all one word, on YouTube. It's brand new. We just got it up and running like last week. So if you go to there and there's only like 10 subscribers and you think that's weird because we've been around for 20 years, well, that's why. It's only been around since like last week. And we haven't really been doing a big media push or anything. I think probably this week is the first week I'm actually talking about it. So anyway, go check it out. Subscribe if you wish. And it'll just be there, and hopefully we'll see what happens. We might do some interviews. We might do more reviews. Maybe we'll just do more trailers. I don't know. I have no idea. But we'll just do something with it. And now you know it exists. And there you go. All right, folks, before we get to the main part of the show, just a quick heads up on the Patreon. All the costs of So Video Games, this podcast here that you're listening to now, and all of the costs of GameCritics.com, the website that would be great if you went to go read, and it's connected to the YouTube channel, which I just talked about. All of these are paid out of my own pocket directly. In case you haven't noticed, like, there's no ads at all on GameCritics.com, and there's no ads here in this podcast. We're doing it because we love it. We're doing it for, the love of writing and the love of podcasting. And we're not trying to like sell anything. You're not going to hear ads for soap or whatever, toupees or whatever it is people are hawking on, or Spotify, or like whatever. We're not selling any ads whatsoever, but that means that this is all just like a labor of love coming out of our pocket. So if you like this podcast, maybe not this particular episode because I'm feeling kind of weird, but maybe like the other episodes, or perhaps if you like GameCritics.com, we have like thousands, literally thousands of reviews in the archive, thousands going back 25 years. It's like a historical archive on the internet. All these reviews that were written of old timey classic games when they were brand new. If you love any of that stuff, if any of that stuff is worth anything to you, it would be amazing if you could just chip in $1 and help me keep it all running. If everybody listening to the show contributed just $1 a month, $12 a year, every expense would be covered, and I would super, super appreciate it if you can afford it. All right, folks, as you know, I like to start the main portion here with circlebacks, where I circle back to things I've covered in depth on previous episodes. Not going to get into all the details again here and now. This is just kind of a quick update, let you know if my thoughts have changed on something for better or for worse after spending more time with it. So, first, circle back. Bomber Crew, the USAF DLC. I've been talking about this for a while. I started playing this like years ago on the Switch. This is from Runner Duck. This is the World War II bomber simulator where you have like a cutaway view of a World War II, like, flying fortress type bomber. You're running missions in a World War II, like Italy and France or whatever, Germany or something like that. And, it's kind of like a sim. You have a bunch of guys inside the plane. People are attacking you. Like, you're managing 15 things at once. It's like really hectic and busy. And it's just, I just really love this game a lot. It's all about process and technique and systems. Basically no story whatsoever in this game at all. It's just about doing the do. And for whatever reason, it just connected with me like really strongly. So I beat the main campaign a while ago, but then the DLC, USAF, where they take you to new land and they give you a new airplane, which is bigger and has more stuff in it. I've been trying to finish that for a while, chipping away. And I finally fucking did it. This past weekend. I'm so fucking thrilled to say that I've now completed every bit of content that was ever available for Bomber Crew. I really enjoy it that much. It was not a smooth finish, though, I will say. I got to the final level, and I decided to go for it. And they kind of changed things up. I talked about this a little bit in the Discord, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but you get to the final mission, and they give you a kind of bomb that you have only ever used like one time before in the main campaign. And remember, this game has been out for like ages, and I played the main campaign like years ago, literal years ago. So when you get to this last mission of the DLC, they do not give you any information. They don't walk you through the new bomb. They give you like no briefing at all. They're just like, last mission, go for it, hooray. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. I guess it's just a new kind of bomb. It's bigger, and I'll just drop it, whatever. So I get to where I'm supposed to drop it, and it's a pretty long mission. You got to fly for a good amount of time and dodge, enemy fighters, and it's not something you just bust out. Like, if you're going to try this mission, like, be ready to devote at least like 20 minutes to it. So I get out there, I get to the base, I get through all the flak, I go through the high altitudes where my guys are freezing, and I drop down and I drop the bomb, and like nothing happens. And I'm like, what the fuck did I miss? Because you can't miss in this game. It's not automatic hit. I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, so start over. And I go back and do it again. I try the second attempt, drop the bomb, doesn't work. And I'm like, fuck, okay, maybe I got to drop both? Like, they didn't tell me. I'm only dropping one. Maybe I got to drop both? So I go back again, third time, fly again, drop both the bombs at the same time, nothing happens. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I am not bad at this game. I know I fucking hit that. What the fuck is going on? So at this point, I have to jump on like GameFAQs or I think it was actually Reddit where I ended up finding the information where people were talking about why, like, and this was like a common problem. I was certainly not the only person who did not understand what was going on in the final level. The developers really fell down by not including that information. Again, a good example of developers who know their game really well and forget that other people don't know their game as well as they do. Come on, you guys. So it turns out that you have to drop the bombs from your highest possible altitude, which I was not doing, because number one, there's more chance that your bomb's going to go off target, and number two, it's really cold, and so your guys are like freezing when you're up there, and number three, it's really hard to see because there's a lot of clouds between you and the target, so sometimes the target is obscured. So like I usually make a habit of coming in low to bomb, so it increases my chances of hitting the target. But in this case, the bombs were only activating if you drop them from the highest possible altitude. So I'm like, okay, fine. I go back and try it again for like the fourth time. Get up there, and I'm like, okay, fine. I'm at the highest altitude. My guys are freezing. You can just hold on for like 5 more minutes. Don't die. I drop both the bombs, blow up the base. I'm like, yes, amazing. I did it. Now all I got to do is land the plane, and the game is over. So I try to go back, but it's like, on the way back, it's like, oh no, surprise objective. There's an aircraft carrier. Take it out with your bomb. And I'm like, bitch, I just dropped both bombs. I did not know I was supposed to save one, and now I am out. And so I had to stop and do it again for like a 5th time. So like on the 5th time, the 5th attempt at doing this mission, I don't think I've ever done any mission more than like this many times in the history of me playing this game. So I come back and like do the whole thing. At this time, like the glow is gone, right? I'm like, I'm not happy about playing this anymore. I'm not excited about finishing anymore. I just want to finish it and wrap it up, which sucks because I really love this game and I was really excited. But like the miscommunication of what I'm supposed to do in this level with the surprise objective just really kind of soured me a little bit. So Went back, highest elevation, dropped one bomb. I knew the aircraft carrier was coming. I waited for it. There it was. Dropped the other bomb. Thank God I didn't miss. And then I flew back home and landed the plane, and it was fine. So I did finish it. I'm happy about it. I just wish I didn't have to do it like 5 times and look up a fucking FAQ to find out what I was doing. Kind of a bummer way to end this like epic relationship I've had with Bomber Crew. But that said, I'm glad I've done it. I'm super glad I finished it. I love this game a lot. It's one of these like all-timers that just like really spoke to me on like a very just like, you know, gut level, visceral level, I guess, if you will, because viscera is guts. And I guess, I don't know what it was, but I'm glad I did it. It was worth the time. It was worth the effort. I'm glad I came back to it. I'm glad I wrapped it. And good. I am looking forward to doing Badlands Crew when it comes to console. It's currently on PC. That is Runner Duck's third game. Kind of basically the same thing as Bomber Crew, but you're doing it in a Mad Max Wasteland, which seems like a lot of fun to me. So I am excited about that. I will not play it on PC, though, so I'm sure you'll hear all about that when I get to it. But for now, this kind of ends my saga with Bomber Crew. It's done, and there we go. Glad I did it. One other circle back this week, Lies of P, the DLC Overture. I talked about it initially, I think last week, or maybe the week before, and I am now continuing a little further in the saga. I believe I am more than halfway through this DLC. I think I'm not reading any FAQs, I'm not spoiling myself, I'm kind of just going through it cold, and it seems to me like I'm about halfway through. I'm guessing there's going to be maybe 4 major areas, and I'm now in the 3rd area. So far, again, it's been fine. It's more Lies of P. If you like Lies of P, it's great. If you don't like it, nothing here is going to change your mind, and it doesn't matter anyway because you can't even get to the DLC until Chapter 9, so you'd have to play the main campaign to even get here, and you wouldn't do that if you didn't like the game, so I guess whatever. But it's good. I have... it's been a little bit of a bummer because the weapons that I like the most are the speed weapons. I'm not usually like an agility guy, but for whatever reason, I feel like agility is the way to go in Lies of P. I feel like the big fuck-off weapons are too heavy and too cumbersome, and I feel like too many of the bosses are too fast. Like, they're just really light on their toes, and they hit hard, and I feel like mobility is really the key to survival in Lies of P. Maybe other people will disagree, or maybe there's a different way to play. I'm sure there is. But for me, the strength build did not work out, and so I went agility. And I like the agility weapons a lot in this one. I mentioned them last time. There's a bow and arrow. There is like Wolverine type claws, and those are good. Struggled a little bit because I spent all of my weapon upgrades on other weapons and I didn't have enough left over, but I finally just got enough upgrades, and so I'm using the weapons that I like, and that's going really well. Just got the brand new arm. There's 2 new arms because in Lies of P, your main character has a prosthetic left arm. Although actually, his whole body, I mean, he is an android, so I guess his whole body is a prosthetic body. But his left arm is like mechanical looking, whereas the rest of him looks like a human being. And you can switch out his arms, his left arm. I just got a brand new one. I think it's called the Phoenix arm or something like that. It's like a bird name. I don't remember which bird it was. But it's the coolest one so far. You launch off these little like boomerang blades. They shoot out and they attach to an enemy and they just like razor him, like spinning around, like cutting him over and over and over, like damage over time. You can fire off like 2 blades at once, which is great. Again, I wish I had more weapon upgrades. I don't have a bunch on hand, which kind of blows. So I'll have to figure out how to get some more upgrades. But that's the coolest arm I've seen so far. That is definitely my favorite out of, I think, maybe possibly even all the arms. I think that's really the coolest one, so I'm glad I found it. And things are going well. I got past a couple more bosses that were pretty tough, but not as tough as the second boss. That one just like, ooh, that was a really rough one. But we're going to see what happens. It's going really well, and I'll report back when I roll credits. I do fully intend on finishing the entire thing. So we'll see how that goes. And also, as a side note to Lies of P, my wife played Lies of P a while ago. She's definitely a Souls fan for sure. Action game fan. She's in it. I mean, she's done like all the Souls games, Bloodborne, everything. I think Sekiro is the only one she hasn't played because she just like can't be fucked with parrying. And honestly, I don't blame her a bit. So she played P when it came out originally, and she really liked it a lot. And we were mostly playing at the same time. But what happened was there is a section in Lies of P where they take away your bonfires. There's only one point. There's only one point in the whole game where you can usually, no matter where you are, no matter what boss you're up against, you can always go back to your bonfire and just warp away and then go grind somewhere else. Grind out some money, buy some more items, go to a shopkeeper, upgrade something. Like that. That's been like a core part of the experience all the way through, except there's one part. There's only one part where they take away your bonfire. And the wife didn't know about it, and she was kind of in a bad way when she got there in her campaign. and she didn't know that the bonfire was going to be taken away. And so she got to this part. She got to a boss that was pretty tough, and she just wasn't ready for it. She was planning on respecking some things and getting some more life potions or throwing items is what I mean to say. She was going to get some more throwing items, which are pretty clutch in Liza P, I think. But long story short, I mean, she just wasn't ready to do like a big boss fight like that. And she was like, well, I'll just explore a little bit and then I'll see what's here. And I'll come back and go back and respec and restock and come back. But she got pinched. They took away the bonfire and she wasn't expecting that. And she got fucked. And so she didn't have enough items to make it through the battle. And so she quit in a really disappointing move. She quit. Not disappointing that she quit, but like it was disappointing that the game fucked her like that because she was enjoying the game so much. She was having a great time, but she just got in a really bad section where she just couldn't recover from it. And there was no way to get more items. There was no way to like, respec anything. You had to just make do with what you had. And she literally was just about to go and like respec some stuff. So she got really screwed, but she's back in it now. She saw me playing the DLC and she's like, oh, you know what? I never fucking finished P and I should come back to it. I'm like, yeah, just go back to it. I know it was a pretty bitter pill to swallow, but it's a good game. It's solid. There's DLC now. You can go back to it and just like, now that that section's coming up, like be ready for it, like make all your changes before you get there. And then when you get there, don't use any of your items until you're ready, until you feel like you're going to like have a serious go at the boss, and don't deplete yourself. And you can totally, I mean, she almost had him like a million times, but it was just like, I think the frustration of being fucked over by having the bonfire taken away that really kind of got to her. But she's going to do it this time for sure. I'm going to make sure she doesn't get stuck. She'll know that trap is coming up and then it'll be fine. So she'll finish the game this time around, and I bet it'll be a good little win for her. It feels good to come back and kick something's ass after it's kicked your ass. And in a pretty unfair way, I will say. So there's that. Liza P Overture. I'll report back when I'm done with all the DLC. All right, main portion of the show here. Got 3 games to talk about this week. First one is called Carrier Deck. This was one that came out of nowhere, random, a PR blast just kind of popped up in my inbox, and I was like, oh, this might be one of those quirky, weird things that I kind of get into. And it's quirky, it's weird. I didn't end up spending a ton of time on it, but I think it's actually pretty cool. So what it is you are basically a controller of an aircraft carrier. Your camera view is like you're looking down on the deck, like a God's eye view kind of a thing. And I forget which carrier they said it was, like the USS like Ronald Reagan or something like that. I forget which. It doesn't matter. It's just an aircraft carrier. And so there's a bunch of planes on top of it. There's planes on the lower deck below. There's little elevators on the side. If you know what an aircraft carrier looks like, it is that. That's what it is. If you don't know what it looks like, go Google it. Google is free. So it's all like menus, and it uses a mouse interface. And so the point of this is you have to manage different missions. There are, you have to like send out scout planes to search the sky, the sea, search for subs, and also keep an eye on land. So you're sending out planes to use their radar to search for threats. When you find a threat, you are loading another plane with like anti-threat, whatever it is. Like if it's missiles for anti-air, bombs or depth charges or whatever for subs, some kind of bomb for like ground troops and stuff. So like you're constantly sending planes out to search for threats. And then when you find the threat, you are sending planes out to eliminate that threat. And then you are landing the planes when they come back. So it's like a constant, very, very hectic hustle and bustle because there's always something happening. There's always like a plane about to land. There's always a plane about to take off. There's always a mission that needs to like get sent out. And so you have to like juggle, like moving the airplanes around, airplanes and helicopters. Like sometimes they're on the lower deck. You got to bring them up. Sometimes you got to take them down to get them fixed. You got to fuel them up. And basically what this ends up being is like a lot of clicking. Like you have this aircraft carrier deck in front of you, and you see all these icons of the planes and helicopters, and you're like, luckily they're color coded, and so you can tell kind of right away which ones are which. Like purple are full of gas, but they don't have any armament. Red armament is anti-air, blue is anti-boat, yellow is anti-sub, and green is anti-land. And so like there's only like 4 colors or 5 that you have to like get used to. So it's pretty easy to just visually kind of read what's happening, which is great. But man, there's like a lot of stuff going on. There's also a radar readout at the bottom. So you're looking at the deck. You're also keeping an eye on the radar. And then you're kind of like also making sure that people don't crash into each other, which is a real problem on an aircraft carrier. So you can see when people are about to land. You got to give them clearance, and like you're like, so what this is like you're running the whole thing all by yourself, and then it's like a lot of like this thing over here. Oh no, this thing over here. Oh no, this thing over here. Click, 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 click. Like it's super, 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 super busy and hectic, and like 19 things going on at once. I think it's really fun though. I think it's really cool, but I will say that I have some issues with it, or at least I have some issues with it on console. I played it on PS5. So first is the interface. I think that the developers need to polish it up a little bit. I didn't want to use the mouse controls at first because using a mouse with a controller kind of sucks. There are adjustments to it. You can enlarge the mouse, but it never got to be a comfortable size for me. And I could never find like the right speed. Like what I really would want was move the mouse slow and then hold down a button to move it real fast. And then when you get to where you're going, let go of the button and move it slow again. I think that's really the optimal way to do a mouse control on a console. And these developers don't do that. And so I was fidgeting with the controls a lot, like trying to like get the mouse to be exactly where I want it to be, because I feel like it's not very sticky. And so you've got to be pretty precise with the mouse, and it just is not great. I wish they had done more work on like the interface, right? So, I mean, I'm guessing it's a small team. I'm guessing they're probably not thinking they're going to have a whole bunch of sales. They probably didn't want to invest that much money in it. But I think it would have worked if they had just polished up that control interface a little bit more. There is an option to not use a mouse interface where you're kind of like moving with the D-pad. Oh, it sucks. It fucking sucks. It's so bad. And so I was like, I spent a pretty fair amount of time just fucking with the controls, trying to get it to feel like really comfortable. And I never got it to a place where I'm like, yes, this is the sweet spot. So that was kind of my first issue with it. My second issue with it is that there's no difficulty levels, and this game is fucking hard. Like, it's really hard. It's really tough to like keep track of like 17 things at once. And too many times I had a helicopter in the wrong spot, another helicopter landed right on top of it, or like a plane was taxiing across the deck, another plane slammed into it, or I couldn't see the incoming enemy aircraft fast enough, and so I didn't have a plane ready to go, and I would take damage. I mean, you don't have to play it perfectly, but it was frustrating to have these issues where I just felt like things just need to slow down for just like a second. A lot of things going on, but that in addition to like the control issues I was having was a little bit irritating, but it's just scaled up really hard. I think there needed to be an easier difficulty level just to like, this is really fun, like running the planes back and forth and landing them and launching them and loading them up. Like it's all pretty enjoyable, busy work, a lot of clicking in a good way, but like it just ramps up too quickly. And I feel like just having an easier mode where maybe like half the stuff happens, I think would be totally fine, or just slow it down a little bit or something. It's pretty brutal in terms of difficulty, and I think it probably works a lot better with a mouse, like an actual mouse, when you can, have that native interface going on. So I think between just the straight up brutal difficulty of it and the control issues I was having, I got kind of frustrated because I would very often just like really mess something up and kind of struggle. Like I would fight the interface a little bit to kind of get back into it, and then when you're under pressure like that, it's really tough. Also, I think that the radar, it's kind of hard to describe, but there's one plane that you have, it's like an AWAC, AWAC. That plane has really good radar, and you can see really far, so you see threats coming in from a mile away. You've only got like one of them, and sometimes you don't have any of them. And I'm like, bitch, I want 4 of them. But you don't have that many, so like you have to kind of pick and choose where you dispatch that one. And whatever one you choose, like you can be like, look for air, look for water, look for ground or whatever. Like whatever one you pick, it's got great visibility. But then the other ones suffer because you have to send out like other aircraft that are not as good at radar. And so sometimes enemy planes will get really close to the carrier before you know that they're there. And that is a problem because it takes a long time to get fuel on a plane and to load it up properly. I eventually started just like preloading all my planes with gas right away, which helped. But you don't really know what's coming, and so you don't want to put the wrong armament on a plane because then it takes time to change it. And so I feel like the only way to kind of like win some of these levels was to play it once and then know what's coming, and then once you know what's coming, you can get it ready ahead of time, which feels to me a little, I don't know, a little cheaty. Like if I know that it's going to be mostly an air attack level, then I will like prep a bunch of planes with anti-air, but you wouldn't know that the first time. And I kind of wanted to go into these and just play them regularly, like in reaction to what's happening. Not that I needed to like have ESP or, forethought and see what was coming ahead of time. It feels, I don't know, I don't like that kind of gameplay. I don't want to have to memorize what's happening. I want to just be it in the moment and respond. So I guess bottom line, that probably explains why there's like 1,000 people on a fucking aircraft carrier, because it's really hard for one person to do it all by themselves. There's not just one person manning the deck. There's not just one person doing all these things on a real aircraft carrier. One of my friends, my best friend in high school, his dad was a sergeant on an aircraft carrier. It was on the USS Nimitz. And we went for a tour, and we'd go out on a cruise sometimes, because we're kind of a Navy town over here where I grew up. And it was cool. Like, seeing the inside of an aircraft carrier was amazing. Like, a really awesome piece of engineering. So pretty cool. Nice connection to my past. I think it's a cool game. It just doesn't feel that great on console. And I think the developers need to just chill the fuck out and make it a little bit easier. If those two things were addressed, I would feel pretty comfortable recommending this as a really fun kind of oddity that is like really kind of neat and really novel. But I think most people are probably not going to get too far into it before they hit a wall of frustration and bounce, which is a shame, because I think this is a cool idea. I think it's a cool idea. I wanted to like it more, but developers, if you're listening, please work on the control interface, and please give me like a slightly easier difficulty level. And man, I would gladly come back to this and finish all the levels. I think it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, got a couple of quick hits before I get to the main event here. First up is the demo for Lost in Random, The Eternal Die. This is on PS5. I believe the demo is still active last I checked, and this one was brought to my attention by John, he of Gaming in the Wild. He was raving about it the other day, and so I'm like, okay. I wasn't the biggest fan of the original Lost in Random. I think my wife played it for a bit. I don't think she even finished it. And it looked okay. Maybe it wasn't quite fully baked, or at least that was my impression of it at the time. So I kind of didn't pay a lot of attention to this sequel, although the sequel seems quite a bit different than the last game. Rather than being a 3D kind of adventure/RPG, this is more of like an isometric, real-time action-based roguelike, which is not really at all what the last game was. So a nice surprise, I guess, or at least a surprise. I just did a couple runs, so this isn't like a huge in-depth look at anything, more just to bring it to your attention. But basically, they continue the story from the first game. They give a couple explanations at the beginning about why things are different, and then you are launched into the action. Basically, there is some stuff to unlock that looks like permanence over time, which is always a good thing for the roguelike genre these days. And you have yourself, you have a sword. I think you might be able to change that weapon later on. You only have one at the beginning, and this is just the demo, but it looks like from the menu, I think you've got like 4 or 5 different weapons ultimately. A bunch of modifiers, as you would expect, and then some different powers that you can pick up along the way. So it kind of follows the same basic kind of like action-y roguelike formula that's all the rage these days. But the colors and art is really nice. The controls are good. Feels good to play, and I'm curious to see a little bit more about it. As you go through the levels, you can also throw your little friend, who is a living die, like a 6-sided die. You can throw them for some damage, get them back, run around, do these various powers, and then it culminates in a boss battle. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's anything earth-shattering so far. We've seen several games that kind of follow this same template, but it seems like everything about it is really well done. I like the way it felt. I like the way it looked. Would be interested in seeing more and seeing how deep it gets. I think my biggest caution with this particular genre these days, and this is not to single out Lost in Random at all, just to talk about the genre in general, is that I'm seeing more and more of these games where they start off in the right direction, but they don't fully understand what makes a game like this work. And again, I'm not pointing this at Lost in Random here, just speaking generally. So whenever I play a game like this, I need to have enough variation between runs to make it feel like it's different enough that I'm not doing the same thing over and over and over. You need like enemy variation, level variation, but most important of all, you need ability variation. It's got to be quite different. That's really a key for me, and I think a key for most of these successful games. I mean, for example, look at Hades, probably the most successful example of that in recent times. They spent tons of time on tons of different weapons, and run to run, your build could be radically different. I mean, between just the straight up weapons handling different, but like all the mods and moment to moment, like your strategy 5 minutes ago could be different from 5 minutes in the future because you picked up a new power. Hades is a really great example of that. There's other great examples as well. And I think that most games right now don't really lean into it as much as those ones do. And I think you need to. I think the bar has been raised. So I'm curious to see where Lost in Random, The Eternal Die will land. It seems like the bones are there. Seems like it's got good production value. It seems like it's on the right track. But I think it's one of those things where you've got to sit down with the full version to see what it feels like from moment to moment, and hopefully it's got the juice. So again, just a quick look here. Just wanted to bring it to people's attention and let you know that it's on my radar. I know it's on John's radar over at Gaming the Wild, and if you like these kind of games, probably should be on your radar as well. One more quick hit of a demo. It's for Turret Girls. This is on PC. Got contacted by PR to let me know that this was a thing, so I went ahead and checked it out. I don't usually check out stuff on PC, but it seemed to meet my very specific criteria, so I figured I would give it a go. Basically, you play a girl who is mounted in a gun turret on top of a wall. You have in front of you a couple of generators, which are for some reason outside the wall and not inside the wall. These, of course, draw enemies from out in the distance. It seems like they're just kind of random bugs and monsters that kind of come in from the horizon. Sometimes they warp in with these little portals that appear, and they go straight for your generators. So right off the bat, I'm like, yo, put those things behind the wall and not in front of the wall, and we are in business. But they are exposed for, you know, everybody to see. Any random bug coming by can take a bite out of these. So that's the basic premise. You're in a turret. You are a third person. The camera is set behind the girl, so you get a good look at her derriere as she is swinging that turret around. And at the beginning, you just have a regular outfit, you know, shorts, shirt, whatever, just basic stuff. You can't really unlock very much in the demo, or at least I couldn't anyway. Maybe there was more to it. I only played a couple rounds. But there's like loads of like outfits and bras and panties and so forth and so on. Lots of different outfits, cat girl ears, tails, who knows what's in there. This is described as a blue game, which means it is not adults only. It is not sexually explicit, but it is kind of like titillating, I guess. Maybe that's a new classification we can look forward to. So I checked it out. I couldn't unlock very many of the outfits. I didn't really see how racy it got. But I will say that the gameplay gives me a little bit of pause. I think it's totally fine to do this kind of a thing. I think being in a turret is fine. And the shooting felt okay in terms of control, but I think there are major problems when it comes to how the game actually plays, because you just get swarmed to fuck. Each round is a set number of seconds, and so you have to survive, like, I forget what it is, but it's like 30 seconds or something like that. And so there's just so many enemies. There's just no way to kill them all. And I think the developers would be better served by properly gamifying the waves of enemies that come in. I mean, TNA is great. I'm a big fan, don't get me wrong, but it's also got to be fun, or at least not miserable to play. And I feel like the gameplay is not there. I just was like really overwhelmed from the get-go by enemies. I'm hoping there's going to be like difficulty levels or more patterns, right? Like, you know, shoot 3 flies on the left side, shoot 3 beetles on the right side, and then come back to the middle for a big monster, and then that's your level. You know, like have an order to it, have a structure to it. The way that it just feels like tons, like way too many enemies are flooding in, and I don't see any way to avoid your generators taking damage. I died frequently and early, and it seems like they send you back just to keep trying, which is okay. I mean, obviously they want you to grind for the outfits and stuff, which I'm happy to do if it's worth it, but it just seems like they did not properly set up the waves of incoming enemies. Like they just threw a billion of them, and we're like, whatever, who cares? You're here for the TNA anyway. Who cares about the shooting? I actually do care about the shooting. It's got to be fun. It's got to be worth playing. And I don't think they're quite there yet. So I don't know what the level of permanence is. Like, does your turret get stronger over time? I couldn't tell. Are there settings that you can tweak? I'm not sure. But I will say the demo gives a very poor first impression. I think the gameplay is not where it should be. And for a game that's basically about a turret, you're not dealing with a lot of elements here. It is literally a gun and incoming waves. You've only got like 2 elements to worry about. So I am a little bit hesitant about this one. As much as I enjoy a little skin in my games, I don't think, based on what I saw, I will be checking this one out, because it just seems like the gameplay is not there. But I could be wrong. This could be just a poor demo, and maybe the full game will be much better. Maybe they're taking feedback. I don't know. But, you know, I don't know. I feel like maybe this one is not going to be heading in the right direction. Maybe they're leaning a little bit too much on the TNA and not enough on engaging gameplay mechanics, which absolutely must be there. So we'll see. Jury's out on that one. I'm kind of cautiously skeptical, but you know, you never know. I could be wrong. It could be amazing when it comes out. There could be all sorts of tweaks. We shall see. Okay, final game of the show, and it's a big one, and I think it's going to be a notable one. It's the Alters from 11-Bit Studios, the people behind This War of Mine and Frostpunk. Frostpunk, which is one of my favorite games of all time, so you absolutely can make a good educated guess about why I was interested in this one. And I gotta say, 11-bit is just getting better and better and better. So what is The Alters? I think there's been a lot of confusion about it. It's a sci-fi game that shares a lot of DNA with Frostpunk, but not in the way that you would expect. So what happens is you're a guy, your name is Jan, and he is one member of a crew that's on a spaceship. They're going out into deep space to go look for a specific element or mineral. It's called rupidium. And so along the journey, they have serious trouble. Their ship crashes onto the planet where the rupidium is supposed to be, and Jan is the only survivor. Everybody else has been killed in the crash, and he's like, oh, shit. So he is struggling on the surface of the planet all by himself. He makes his way back to the crash site, and it just so happens that their ship was carrying a mobile base. That was what they were going to use to harvest the rupidium on this planet, and so miraculously, the mobile base has survived. So he sees it in the distance, he makes his way over to it, and it's pretty glorious the first time you see it. Also kind of funny, because the mobile base is basically like a giant wheel, like literally a giant wheel. It's got a rubber tire all the way around it, and in the middle is like the habitation place. There's like different compartments, like science room and a food room and a sleeping room, and it's all suspended inside this wheel because the base is supposed to be rolling over the surface of the planet. You see the base from a 2D side view, like an ant farm view, kind of like when you're looking at the base in XCOM, or kind of like when you're looking at the storage in like a Resident Evil game, like when you look at your backpack and you have to fit all the pieces into it. That's exactly like what the mobile base is like. Like, it looks like a big base, but then when you zoom in, it's like all these rooms and compartments. You can move them at will. I guess, like, you know, I don't know, the automation of the base itself can move these compartments around because everything is separated and divided. And so you can move elements around to make them fit, try to maximize the space inside the wheel. And then once you get to the base, Jan realizes he needs to get like resources like ASA fucking P. So he goes out. You play this from a third person perspective behind the back. And he goes into the nearby areas and he has like some various equipment like scanners and drills and stuff like that. And he finds elements that he needs to get. He needs to get like organic elements that are buried underground. He gets metal. He gets crystals of some kind. You know, he finds all the stuff that he needs. So you need to go out into the world, third person exploration, search for these things that you need. And then you need to set up supply lines. You need to set up like little bases to drill for these things. You set up pipelines that go from your drill all the way back to your base. You set up fast travel points. It's really fun. It reminds me a lot of like setting up the zip lines in Death Stranding, which I thought was really fun. And you can also fast travel once you get these pipelines set up. You zip back and forth like no problem. So top priority is going out to the land, find what you need for resources, avoid any hazards, radiation, pitfalls, whatever. Avoid those things, set up your supply lines, and then get those production things going. So that all sounds well and good, but then the problem here is that the planet Jan is on has a very, very powerful sun, a really intense sun. When Jan lands, he's on the night side, and the days are not Earth days. They're like whatever the cycle is on this planet. It's several days or more than a week or something like that. I forget what the timeline is, but it's way more than like a day. And so he gets a warning saying, yo, the sun is about to come up. And when it comes up, it's going to fry you to a crisp. You need to get the fuck out of here like stat. And so Jan's like, oh shit, I got to get this thing rolling. I got to get out of here or else I'm toast. And so it becomes kind of this race against the clock to get the mobile base moving so that you're not like just like, you know, fried to ultimate death by the sun when it rises. So like a deadly sunrise is what we're dealing with. So I'm sure at this point, this all sounds fine, like a pretty proper sci-fi game, really interesting elements. But of course, I think the one thing that everybody knows about the Alters, if they don't know anything else, is that you apparently clone yourself. And that does come into play pretty early on. Jan realizes he's not able to handle the mobile base all by himself. There is just too much work to do. Things break. He's got to get the food. He's got to gas it up. He's got to like go search. There's just no way one person can do it all. And thanks to a special quantum computer that is controlling the base, he can tap into that. And I'm not going to get into all the details now, but basically he can create a copy of himself. And I'm debating how much to say about it because I feel like the discovery is pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to play it conservative. And I will just say that he's able to copy himself. And that's not a spoiler. It's been in like all the trailers. It's basically what everybody knows that the game is about. So I don't feel bad about saying that he makes clones of himself. I will say no more. But basically he clones himself. And then each new clone has its own job. Like one guy is going to handle the greenhouse and grow food. One guy is going to be drilling for metals. One guy is going to be the scientist and research back at the base, etc., etc., etc. You've got to make these clones of yourself. And so you assign them to their different jobs to kind of help this mission move. But at the same time, you have to deal with them as people. They are individual people because they're like you. And so you're a person. They're also persons. And so you have to just kind of deal with them. And because of their jobs, and just because no two people are exactly the same, they have different personalities, and you have different foibles and different, pros and cons to each one. And you have to kind of like manage them, which is also they are you, but also not quite. And so you have this kind of like weird little, I don't know, terrarium going where you're inside this rolling wheel that has little habitation pods in it, but also there's copies of you running all over the place, and each one has its own hopes and dreams, and they want different things, and they have different demands and different happy points and different sad points. And all this stuff comes together wrapped up in the sci-fi story about trying to find Rupidium, what Rupidium does, why it's important, what happened to the mission, how can you get this base rolling, how can you survive, does anybody come rescue you? It's fucking fantastic. It is fucking fantastic. I love every fucking thing about it. It shares a lot of DNA with Frostpunk. I said that earlier, and it may not sound like there's anything in common with Frostpunk, but that is actually not true. What is in common is, number one, the constant level of supreme pressure and stress. You were always thinking about the sun in the back of your mind, and like you're trying to maximize each day. I got to get X amount of metal. I got to grow X amount of food. I got to fix this 2 things that broke. I got to go find how to cross this chasm so I can find the resource on the other side. And there's only so many hours in the day. You can only work like, I want to say it's like 18 hours a day or something like that. And you get too tired afterwards. You got to go back. And also sometimes radiation will show up from space and cook you if you're on the surface. So you got to be inside sometimes. So you got to really maximize how much time you're doing. And you're just fucking constantly like running out of shit. Like you're always running out of food. You're running out of like radiation filters for your fucking base. And like, you got to keep those going or else you get cooked inside there. You're running out of like spare parts. You're running out of this and that and the other thing. And so it's constantly this like run around to find resources to replace the stuff that you lost. But then you've also got to get ahead of that curve because you've got to build things to expand your base, and you got to like, gas it up, and that takes resources and all these other things that happen. And you need to research this and that. And it's just like, there's always like 85 things happening at the same time, and they are all equally important. And you are just like spinning plate after plate after plate after plate after plate, trying not to let any of them fall. And that's exactly what Frostpunk felt like, right? If you're familiar with Frostpunk, or if you're not, that was about a group of survivors in a fictional world where they're at the North Pole. The whole world is going cold, going into a deep freeze, like a nuclear winter sort of a thing. And you have to build a generator to keep your people warm. You have to get supplies. You have to be able to withstand the cold. And like the same pressure of the cold is coming, we need to hurry up, and there's only so much we can do, and each day only lasts so long. Kind of the same vibe for the altars. The sun is coming this time, and you can only do so many things per day, but instead of dealing with a whole city, you've just got like 3 or 4 or 5 people, and they all just happen to be you. And so it's, in large strokes, I think it's pretty similar, but on a smaller scale, I think it's quite different, and they both bring very different things to the table. I love Frostpunk. Frostpunk is fucking amazing. But the altars, I think, is also amazing. I'm just really, really enjoying every bit of it. I think doing the supply stuff is good. There's no combat, or at least no combat that I've seen so far, and I think I'm at least halfway through the game. So I approve of no combat. I don't think that would be welcome or necessary here. It's fucking way stressful enough as it is, just like navigating the world and the planet and dealing with your internal shit. I do not need like monsters showing up. So far, I'm really, really glad and grateful that there's no enemies. But then like dealing with each person, like you get these little cutscenes and talking about like what they want and how they're different for you, also how they're similar, and just kind of like managing that, like, making sure people are happy enough to, do their work and not get really super depressed. I mean, there's a couple times that I've been playing that some of the guys have gotten like really depressed, like severely depressed. And that becomes a problem because they don't do their work. They bring everybody else down. They're not pulling their load. And this is like a life or death situation where everybody's got to be working at peak efficiency all the time, or else you're all going to die together when you get fried to a crisp, when you don't get that fucking wheel moving. So it's really good. I feel like it's a great formula. I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing so far. I'm like totally gripped. It's the kind of game that like once you start playing, like you just have to play like for like a 3-hour chunk, because it's just so much stuff happening, so much things, going on. You can't forget one thing. You got to do this thing, got this other thing to do. And then you got to come back into this other thing. And I can't stop now, because if I stop now, I'll forget what I'm doing. And when I come back, I'll have this other thing. And it's like, you're just like freaking out, but in a good way. I feel like it's a really good way. I like the pressure. I usually don't like pressure. I usually don't like time pressure in games, but in this particular game, I think it really works because Jan's a compelling character. I think the situation is compelling. The story is compelling. I think it all works really well, and I think the mechanics are great. I will give huge props to 11-bit for being so smart about their design. There's a couple quibbles I have, which I'll get to in a second, but overall, this could have easily been one of those like jank ass PC games that is like absolutely a nightmare to play on console. It could have been like just menu up the ass and, you know, unoptimized everything and tiny text, and it could have been like all these little windows and, you know, it could have been a nightmare. But it's not. It's actually a joy to play. It's really easy to play. I mean, I think there's a lot of menus that you have to scroll through because there's just a lot going on your ship. You have to check out, like, how are your altars doing? What's in storage? You know, what can I build? What's in the production queue? Like, there's a lot of things to keep an eye on. So there's a lot of, like, tabs or whatever, but they're all, like, large tabs. You're not, like, menu diving 15 windows down, right? And it's easy to control with the controller. It feels very natural and intuitive. The maps view is really excellent, like looking at your ship and seeing that is all easy to read. I mean, everything is just really well thought out. And that was exactly true for Frostpunk as well. Frostpunk could have been another jank-ass PC-only game where like it needed a mouse to survive, but it didn't. It played beautifully on consoles. Very intuitive, very easy, felt very natural with a controller. And I find that to be the case here. And I think that's really one reason why 11-bit are just so fucking genius, because they think about it. They do things that make sense. They test it out. Like they really put a lot of time and effort in making this thing playable for people who are on console like me. And I think that's just brilliant. I wish more developers would spend as much time and effort as they do. That said, there are a couple of little quibbles I have with some of the UI, which I'm sure could be easily patched out. I think most of it is to do with the storage, and I feel like there just hasn't been enough callouts for the storage and how it works. And storage is really, 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 really fucking important in this game because you have a limited amount of space on your ship, and you've got to have like raw materials for like 19 different things. And if you don't have the raw materials, then you can't make the thing, and you're screwed. And in fact, at one point in my first playthrough, I had to quit the game and start over because I just was too short of materials because I was prioritizing wrong. But I think the way the storage is displayed could use a little bit of a tweak. It's not exactly clear how much space you have until you figure out exactly what the game is trying to tell you, but the game doesn't really tell you that. I had to talk to a couple people online, a couple people in the Gaming the Wild Discord, and then one person on Blue Sky that I was talking to. And between all of us, we kind of figured out what was what with the storage. I think it's not supposed to be that confusing. I don't think that was intentional. I think they just didn't really take into account that people playing the game for the first time wouldn't immediately understand what they were trying to do with that readout for the storage. I understand it now, but I wish I had known about it 10 hours ago. So I think that particular thing needs to be changed because it can be a game ruiner if you don't know what you're doing and if you don't understand what the game is telling you. Other than that, which is a pretty small quibble, which could be easily fixed, I don't really have a lot of problems so far. I think it's just kind of the general, you're probably going to have to plan to play this at least a couple times because your first run you're going to make a bunch of mistakes, or you're not going to understand what's priority and what's not, and you're not going to figure out how you want to play. So like I said, I started over once and I did way better my second time because I knew what was coming and I knew how the systems worked and I had the storage thing figured out, and so I made way less mistakes. And in this game you do not have a large margin for error. You've really got to get a lot of it right the first time, which is impossible to do until you played it at least once. So plan on playing it at least getting like one like quote unquote starter game where you're just fucking around and learning the systems. And then once you got a handle on things, just quit and start over, and you'll do way better the second time. And then you can like strategically save so you don't have to start from scratch. So I think that's really the key, is just don't think you're going to beat it your first time through. I think it's probably very unlikely. But overall, I don't want to say anything more about it because I think the story is great. I'm really enjoying the reveals. I'm really enjoying how being roommates with myself plays out and how that pays off. I like the sci-fi setting. I think the planet is really compelling. I think being in the moving base is really compelling. I think it's just a really well thought out, really entertaining game so far. I'm really getting a lot of mileage out of it. And I mean, this very well may be my favorite game overall of 2025 so far. Haven't finished it, so the jury's out, but man, it's looking like top 10 for sure. Like, unless it goes like catastrophically wrong in the last half, which I doubt it will, knowing 11-bit studios. So a pretty strong contender for like easily top 3 for sure, if not my favorite. So we'll see what happens. There's 6 months left to go in the year, but man, it's going to be hard to beat this one. But I am loving the altars. I think it's so great. And it's on Game Pass. Can you believe it? Like, Game Pass is fucking killing it this year. I mean, first Expedition 33 and now the altars. And I think you can make a pretty good case that either one of those games could be like justifiably game of the year overall, and we're getting them for basically quote unquote free on Game Pass. Fucking wow, dude. Microsoft is killing it. So anyway, enough about the altars. I got to get back to it. Stat. I got a lot of shit going down. I need to make sure that base gets rolling. So check it out for sure. It is really something else, and I think it's certainly worth your time, especially because it's on Game Pass. So there you go. The altars from 11-Bit Studios. Fucking superb shit. Definitely top 3 of the year. Maybe even my favorite game of the year. We shall see. All right, folks. Game portion of the show is officially done. But like many humans, I do spend a few minutes a week in front of screens that don't have menus or life bars. That's right. It is time for the TV and movie roundup. Just one thing to talk about today, and it's kind of going with the theme. My wife and I started watching Silo, which is streaming on Apple. This is I guess it's based on a book. I didn't realize it was a book or a series of books. It's about basically a silo that is underground and people live in it. It's like this huge, I don't even know how big. It's like 200 stories tall silo built of concrete, and there's no elevators, just stairs. Stairs is like a big part of the world where you got to just like, it takes you like a day or two to get from like the top to the bottom. So you plan your journey, and there's like hotels along the way because you just can't walk the whole thing in one go, especially if you're going like up the stairs. But it's like this whole little microcosm world. It's got a little bit of a Fallout feel. Definitely has a Frostpunk feel as well, because not only because there's a giant generator at the bottom of the silo that they have to keep running, which has, you know, very direct connections to Frostpunk, but also the same feeling of like city on the edge. Everything is being held in check by just like a hair, and if one thing goes wrong, it brings chaos down upon the whole settlement, which was very much how it was in Frostpunk. So it feels like Frostpunk in a silo, and I love Frostpunk, and I think this is pretty cool so far. There are 2 seasons out, and I believe there are 2 more coming next year. So 1 and 2 are available now. 3 and 4 will be available in 2026. I don't know if that's the end of it, or if they're going to keep it going, but you have at least 2 more seasons to look forward to. I believe they're filming right now concurrently. But I really like the performances. It's really tense. We're only maybe like 4 episodes in the first season, but there's already been a number of like really nail-biting moments and a lot of elements that you can see are going to unfold over time, like a lot of like mysteries to solve and things to figure out. And just the whole world they've created is pretty interesting. Definitely got a strong post-apocalyptic vibe. Like, I don't know exactly what happened, and they don't know exactly what happened either. That's part of the mystery as well, but you can tell there's a lot under the surface on this one. So looking forward to peeling back the layers of this particular onion. It's quite good so far. Silo, playing on Apple TV. All right, folks, that is a show. Before the closing music, would love for you to leave reviews, share the show on social media, but most important of all, please recommend the show to your friends, because nothing beats good old word of mouth. And as always, please send me your questions and comments. You can hit me up at SoVideoGamesPodcast@gmail.com. You can reach me on social media, on Instagram and Blue Sky. It's my name, BradGallaway, all A's, no O's. You can also hit me up in the Video Games Discord, which is totally free of charge. Just drop me a line through any of the channels I just mentioned, and we'll get you in there to continue the conversation. And finally, again, if you would like to support this show and help with the cost of running this podcast, as well as GameCritics.com, you can do that over at patreon.com/the Soviet Games Podcast. Every single dollar helps, and €1 helps that much more. Folks, that's going to do it for episode 442. Thank you again for joining me here on the Soviet Games Podcast, and I'll see you next week.